And I think what we were talking about is the idea that COVID had accelerated kind of trends and selections of companies that are going to be important in 10 years today. And I think that's really what he was talking about, is that he feels they're out of danger. He talked about them being, remember, he thought they were in mortal danger for a long time, that they've started to reach the kind of scale that's necessary to sustain things. And I think that's what he was discussing, is that if you're in this for a long term, we are the company to beat.
Okay, hold on a second. So this is really important, because if you just watch this clip and you just say, okay, the title is Elon Musk says Tesla will be worth more in 5 years, it doesn't sound really exciting. But when you hear what you just said right now, it gets more interesting. Elon is essentially saying that we're out of the woods, shout out to Kathy, and we're going to be the company to beat. That, if you kind of think about what it means, combined with what went on Twitter, you get a glimpse into what Elon sees as far as the future of Tesla. Also, Kathy from ARK Invest, who's a beast. I mean, she's been beating the market for a while now. So let me show you.
And that's probably pretty accurate at this point, despite the fact that other car companies are in the game. They're far and ahead, way ahead of people now. They're trying to get even more ahead on batteries. But what was interesting about him is I don't really know if he's a tech person anymore, or ever was after he stopped with X.com and PayPal.
Lady, please. He's the most tech guy in the industry. Chillax. Anyways, let's move on. I'm just kidding. I like this woman. So here's the point. So this video is kind of interesting, but I mean, it's pretty much ran its course for what we need here. And I want to move on to the next thing, because this is the really interesting part. So I think this video is an understatement of what's really is going on. So let's move on to what's happening on Twitter. So today, Kathy Wood from ARK Invest, probably the most famous bull of Tesla, and the most outspoken one and the most successful one, came out and said this. And there was a lot of mistakes in what she said, but also a lot of things which are kind of interesting. Predictably, when Elon Musk announced at Battery Day last week that Tesla would be cutting the price of a Model 3 to $25,000, Elon actually corrected her for this. It's not going to be the Model 3 for $25,000. It's going to be a new car for $25,000. So, it's not a huge mistake. Let's move on. Several financial analysts panicked. True. Downgrading the stock and are cutting the price. Exactly. If you bought at below 400, you already made 20 or 30 bucks per share. In our view, traditional financial analysts have missed the mark. And share price already shows it at this point. I mean, the market is voting with her. But anyways, that's not the point. So check this out. This is the really interesting part. This is exciting. So she's saying here, pretty much this argument is very interesting. And I agree with it. Pretty much traditional auto journalists can't cover Tesla. I mean, they don't have the tech knowledge. They just don't understand EVs to cover this industry properly. So I completely agree with her argument. And here she's saying something really interesting. And this is where she got into a back and forth with Elon, which I think we really need to talk about because it's really exciting. So she says, according to Wright's law, remember that name, Wright's law, for every cumulative doubling of the number of EVs produced, meaning let's say from 1 million to 2 million, costs will drop by 28%, suggesting that EV prices will drop below those of gas-powered vehicles on a like-for-like basis during the next 2 years. Okay, so she's saying, if you think that the costs will go down 28% every time you double the amount of cars in the market, within the next 2 years, EVs are going to surpass ICE vehicles as far as cost. So let me explain this little statement. And Elon actually went with their back and forth here, which is very interesting. So Wright's law basically says, let's keep it simple. There's an exponential element to innovation. Because when you innovate as far as the machine that builds your product, but you also innovate in the machine building the machine. So your innovation is exponential. So the more cars you're producing, the rate of your innovation is actually exponential and not a straight line. That is the whole argument, pretty much, of why Tesla is so far ahead and no other car manufacturer can catch them. But it's just a simplistic explanation of Wright's law. So she's saying 28% over the next 2 years, because over the next 2 years, we're going to have 2 million cars or whatever it is. And Elon Musk actually went back and forth with her, kind of downgrading her numbers, but agreeing with her. So Elon actually went back and forth with her on this. And here's the interesting part. What Elon said, and that actually connects to what he said in the video, where in the video he was a little bit understated. Here's actually giving away the numbers. What Elon said is that in the next 5 to 7 years, the market for EVs will be about 30 million cars. He also said that by 2030, which means in 8 years, Tesla will be making about 20 million cars, meaning that in a rough estimation, Elon Musk by 2030 sees Tesla as having about 40 to 50% of the market share of electric vehicles. If you believe that the analysis is correct, which seems very solid, at least from the number standpoint and based on track record, that would put Tesla far ahead of their $400 valuation per share. We're probably looking at anywhere between $1,500 and $2,000 per share in the next 5 to 6 years. If you're a long-term investor, you really need to consider investing in Tesla, because it seems that in the next 5 to 8 years, the share price is going to go up from about $400 to $500 these days to about $2,000, and it's almost inevitable unless these numbers don't add up, unless there's a catastrophic failure that changes everything. But again, at this point, I think Elon says it, and the mainstream media is starting to admit it because they actually did a positive piece about Elon, that pretty much the jig is up, the game is over. Tesla is way too much ahead, and at this point, there's a running for the second and the third place. Who's going to be the second runner-up? Who's going to be the third runner-up? The original manufacturers, the original OEMs, who are not going to adjust well enough, are not even going to be 4, 5, and 6. And I'm talking to you, Ford, and to you, GM, who purchased Nikola, allegedly. You guys really need to step it up just to catch number 6, 7, and 8, maybe. In any case, that was my opinion. As always, everything you heard and saw in this video is 100% my opinion and should be treated as such. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you enjoy my content. Thank you so much for our channel members and our Patreons. You guys have been killing it. Thank you so much. You make these videos possible. We'll see you guys in the next video.